Come. Before you continue listening, I want you to ask yourself one question. What if, at this very moment, your soulmate is thinking about you in a way they never have before? What if a silent decision has already been made deep within their heart? A decision so powerful that it could change the direction of your connection forever. Most people believe that life-changing choices happen through conversations, messages, or dramatic events. But the truth is, the most important decisions are often made in complete silence. No one sees them happen. No one hears them being made. Yet, they have the power to transform everything. Somewhere right now, your soulmate may be experiencing an emotional shift they cannot ignore. The doubts that once clouded their mind may be fading. The walls they built to protect themselves may be weakening. And for the first time, they may be allowing themselves to fully acknowledge what their heart has been trying to tell them all along. This is not about coincide, CE. This is not about fantasy. This is about the hidden movements of the human soul, the invisible forces that guide people toward truths they can no longer deny. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover may reveal why your soulmate's heart has just made a powerful choice about you. Deep inner decision is very different from the decisions people make in everyday life. Most ordinary choices are guided by logic, convenience, or immediate needs. A person decides what to wear, where to go, or how to respond to a situation using conscious thought. But there are certain decisions that emerge from a much deeper place within the psyche. These decisions are not made in a single moment. They develop slowly, often without the person fully realizing what is happening. They are formed through countless emotions, memories, reflections, and experiences that accumulate beneath the surface of awareness. When it comes to a soulmate connection, this type of decision becomes especially significant because it touches parts of the self that cannot be reached through reason alone. Your soulmate may have spent a long period of time wrestling with emotions they could not easily explain. They may have tried to analyze their feelings, searching for practical reasons to understand why you, their presence, affects them so deeply. Yet some connections refuse to fit into simple explanations. No matter how much they attempted to push their feelings aside, something within them continued to return to the thought of you. This repeated return is important because it reveals that the connection has moved beyond curiosity and entered a deeper psychological space. The unconscious mind does not repeatedly focus on something without a reason. It draws attention toward what it considers meaningful for growth, transformation, and emotional development. As time passes, the heart begins collecting evidence that the conscious mind cannot ignore forever. Small moments gain greater significance. Memories become more vivid. Certain emotions remain alive long after they should have faded. Your soulmate may have noticed the thoughts of you appear during unexpected moments. They may find themselves comparing other experiences to the connection they feel with you. Even when distracted by responsibility, realities, goals, or daily concerns, the emotional presence of this bond continues to exist in the background of their awareness. This persistence gradually creates pressure within the psyche, encouraging them to confront feelings they may have previously avoided. A deep inner decision is born when the conflict between what the heart feels and what the mind believes can no longer continue. For a long time, a person may resist what they know internally. Fear often plays a major role in this resistance. Fear of vulnerability, fear of disappointment, fear of change, and fear of losing control can all create barriers that prevent emotional acceptance. Yet, fear requires constant effort to maintain. It demands energy to suppress emotions, deny desires, and ignore intuitive knowing. Eventually, maintaining these defenses becomes more exhausting than facing the truth itself. At this stage, something remarkable begins to happen. The individual starts recognizing patterns that were previously overlooked, are looked. They begin understanding that their feelings are not temporary reactions, but expressions of something much deeper. What once seemed confusing starts becoming clear. The emotional signals that appeared contradictory suddenly align into a coherent picture. Instead of questioning every feeling, they begin trusting what their inner world has been trying to communicate all along. This is not a dramatic revelation that happens overnight. Rather, it is a gradual awakening to a truth that has been waiting patiently beneath the surface. The powerful choice being made is not merely about attraction or affection. It is about acknowledgement. It is the decision to stop fighting against what feels real. It is the acceptance that the connection occupies an important place within their emotional and psychological life. Such a decision changes the way they perceive the relationship, the way they perceive themselves, and the way they imagine the future. Once this recognition occurs, it becomes as difficult to return to previous states of denial or uncertainty. The heart has crossed a threshold. It has chosen authenticity over avoidance and truth over confusion. This inner decision often marks the beginning of profound transformation, because every external action originates from an internal commitment. Before words are spoken, before plans are made, and before visible changes occur, the heart first decides what it believes to be true. That silent decision becomes the foundation upon which all future developments are built, creating a powerful shift that can influence the direction of an entire connection. The end of inner conflict is one of the most significant psychological shifts a person can experience. Before reaching this point, the human mind often becomes divided between opposing forces. One part seeks connection, emotional fulfillment, and authenticity, while another part seeks safety, control, and protection from potential pain. When these opposing forces remain active for a long period of time, they create a state of tension that influences thoughts, emotions, and behavior. In the context of a soulmate connection, this tension can become especially intense because the emotions involved tend to reach deeper layers of the psyche than ordinary relationships. Your soulmate may have spent a considerable amount of time moving back and forth between certainty and doubt. There may have been moments when their feelings for you felt undeniable, followed by periods where they attempted to rationalize those feelings away. This inner struggle is often driven by the desire to maintain emotional security. The heart naturally moves toward what feels meaningful, but the mind frequently raises questions about risks, uncertainties, and possible outcomes. As a result, the individual becomes trapped in an internal debate where neither side fully wins. During this stage, emotional energy becomes scattered. One day they may feel drawn toward the connection, sensing to its importance and feeling inspired by its possibilities. On another day, fears and insecurities may become louder, causing them to withdraw or question everything they previously felt. This cycle can continue for weeks, months, or even years. The constant shifting between attraction and resistance creates emotional exhaustion because maintaining contradictory positions requires a tremendous amount of psychological effort. The unconscious mind plays a crucial role in this process. Beneath conscious awareness, old experiences, unresolved wounds, and deeply rooted beliefs influence how a person responds to emotional intimacy. If your soulmate has experienced disappointment, betrayal, rejection, or emotional instability in the past, those experiences may create protective mechanisms designed to prevent future pain. These defenses often operate automatically, even when a person genuinely desires connection. Unconscious fears may encourage hesitation and avoidance. This creates a situation where the individual feels pulled in two different directions at the same time. As the conflict continues, the psyche begins searching for resolution. Human beings are naturally driven towards psychological balance. The mind cannot comfortably sustain opposing truths forever. Eventually, the pressure generated by internal contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. Questions that once seemed confusing begin demanding clear answers. Emotions that were previously suppressed begin surfacing with greater intensity. The person starts recognizing that avoiding the truth is not eliminating the feelings, it is merely postponing the need to confront them. This recognition marks an important turning point. Instead of viewing their emotions as a problem to solve, your soulmate may begin viewing them as valuable information about their inner reality. They start noticing that the connection continues to hold significance despite every attempt to dismiss it. The persistence of these feelings become as difficult to explain away. What once appeared to be temporary emotions reveals itself as something far more substantial. The repeated return of thoughts, memories, and emotional responses begins forming a pattern that can no longer be ignored. As clarity increases, the intensity of the inner battle starts diminishing. Doubts lose some of their power because they are no longer supported by complete uncertainty. The person begins understanding what they truly feel and why those feelings continue to exist. Fear does not disappear instantly, but it gradually loses its position as the dominant force within the psyche. Instead of allowing fear to dictate every decision, they become more willing to acknowledge their emotional truth. This shift creates a profound sense of relief. Much of the anxiety generated by inner conflict comes from resisting one's own reality. When resistance decreases, emotional energy becomes available for understanding, growth, and self-awareness. The individual no longer needs to constantly defend themselves against their own feelings. They stop viewing the connection as something that must be controlled, analyzed, or escaped. Instead, they begin accepting its presence as part of their psychological and emotional experience. The end of inner conflict does not mean every challenge has been resolved. External circumstances may remain unchanged, and questions about the future may still exist. However, a crucial transformation has occurred within. The struggle between denial and acceptance begins giving way to greater harmony between the heart and mind. Thoughts become clearer, emotions become more stable, and the individual develops a deeper understanding of their own truth. What once felt like a battlefield within the psyche gradually becomes a space of growing alignment, where confusion gives way to recognition and resistance slowly transforms into acceptance. Recognition of a soul connection is not something that happens through logic alone. It emerges from a deeper level of awareness, often beyond conscious reasoning. There are moments in life when a person encounters someone who feels strangely familiar, even if they have known them for only a short time. The connection seems to bypass ordinary social interactions and reach directly into the emotional and psychological core of their being. This experience can be both fascinating and unsettling because it challenges the usual ways people understand relationships. Your soulmate may have initially tried to understand the connection through conventional explanations. They may have focused on shared interests, common experiences, or personal compatibility. While these factors can certainly contribute to attraction, they often fail to explain the deeper emotional impact that certain individuals have on one another. A soul connection carries a unique quality that cannot be measured by external circumstances alone. It creates an inner response that feels meaningful, significant, and difficult to forget. One of the first signs of this recognition is the persistence of emotional awareness. Most encounters fade naturally with time, especially when there is distance or limited contact. However, a soul connection tends to remain active within the psyche. Thoughts return unexpectedly, memories continue to surface, emotional reactions remain strong after they would normally diminish. Your soulmate may have noticed that no matter how occupied they become with daily responsibilities, the awareness of you continues to exist somewhere in the background of their mind. This persistence often leads to curiosity. They begin asking themselves why this connection feels different from others they have experienced. The question becomes increasingly difficult to ignore because the emotional response does not follow predictable patterns. Instead of weakening over time, the connection may continue growing in significance. What once seemed like a passing feeling gradually reveals itself as something far more substantial. As this process unfolds, your soulmate may start recognizing qualities within you that resonate with parts of themselves they rarely acknowledge. Human beings often carry hidden aspects of their personality, desires, and emotional needs beneath conscious awareness. Sometimes another person acts as a mirror, reflecting these deeper dimensions back to them. Through the connection, they may gain insights into their own strengths, vulnerabilities, hopes, and fears. This experience can feel transformative because it encourages self-discovery as well as emotional growth. The recognition of a soul connection frequently involves a sense of emotional depth that goes beyond surface attraction. Physical appearance, shared interests, and chemistry may play a role, but the bond feels rooted in something more profound. Your soulmate may sense that conversations carry unusual significance, that interactions leave lasting impressions, or that even periods of separation fail to diminish the emotional impact. The connection begins feeling less like a coincidence and more like an important part of their personal journey. At the psychological level, this recognition often challenges existing beliefs about relationships. If they previously viewed connections through a practical or rational lens, they may find themselves confronting experiences that cannot be easily explained. Certain emotions arise without clear justification. Certain intuitions feel surprisingly accurate. Certain moments seem to carry symbolic meaning that extends beyond ordinary interaction. These experiences encourage them to consider the possibility that the connection serves a deeper purpose in their life. As awareness grows, resistance often begins to weaken. The more they observe the consistent presence of these feelings, the harder it becomes to dismiss them. Recognition does not require complete certainty about the future, nor does it eliminate every fear. Question. Instead, it involves acknowledging that the connection holds genuine significance. It is the realization that your presence has touched something important within them, something that continues influencing their thoughts, emotions, and personal development. This understanding gradually transforms the way they perceive both the relationship and themselves. What once seemed mysterious begins feeling meaningful. What once appeared confusing starts revealing a deeper pattern. The connection becomes more than an emotional experience. It becomes a source of insight, reflection, and inner awakening, encouraging them to recognize the profound impact that certain people can have on the unfolding of their psychological and emotional life. Emotional awakening and clarity often arrive gradually rather than all at once. Many people imagine that profound realizations happen in a single dramatic moment. But the deeper transformations of the psyche usually unfold through a series of subtle age shifts. Feelings that were once hidden begin moving toward the surface. Thoughts that were ignored start demanding attention. What was previously vague and uncertain slowly becomes more defined. In the context of a soulmate connection, this process can be especially powerful because it involves not only recognizing emotions, but also understanding their true significance. Your soulmate may have spent a long period of time disconnected from the full depth of their feelings. This does not necessarily mean that the emotions were absent. More often, the emotions existed beneath conscious awareness, influencing thoughts and behaviors without being fully acknowledged. Many individuals develop habits of emotional suppression throughout their lives. They learn to focus on responsibilities, routines, and practical concerns, while keeping deeper feelings hidden. These patterns can create a sense of emotional distance, even from one's own inner world. A soulmate connection has a unique way of disrupting this emotional distance. It brings attention to feelings that can no longer remain hidden. The presence of the connection begins activating parts of the psyche that were previously quiet or dormant. Your soulmate, may notice stronger emotional reactions than usual. Small interactions may carry unusual significance. Memories associated with you may evoke emotions that seem disproportionate to the circumstances. These experiences signal that something deeper is attempting to emerge into conscious awareness. At first, this awakening can feel confusing. Emotions rarely arrive in a perfectly organized form. They often appear as fragments, moments of longing, unexpected joy, unexplained sadness, curiosity, hope, or vulnerability. Because these feelings emerge from deeper layers of the psyche, they may not immediately make sense. Your soulmate may find themselves questioning why they think about you so often, or why certain memories continue affecting them. The mind searches for LOI, KL, explanations, while the heart continues, presenting emotional truths. As time passes, the emotional landscape begins to become clearer. Instead of experiencing isolated feelings, they start seeing connections between them. They realize that recurring thoughts, persistent memories, and emotional responses are all pointing toward the same underlying reality. What once seemed like random emotional experiences begins forming a coherent pattern. This pattern reveals the true importance of the connection and the role it plays in their inner life. Clarity emerges when the individual stops fighting against their emotions and begins observing them honestly. Emotional awakening requires courage because it involves facing truths that may feel uncomfortable or overwhelming. It asks a person to acknowledge desires they have denied, hopes they have concealed, and fears they have avoided. Your soulmate may begin recognizing that many of their doubts were not created by the connection itself, but by their own uncertainties and protective defenses. This realization allows them to separate genuine feelings from fear-based reactions. As this process continues, their understanding of you may also deepen. They begin seeing beyond superficial impressions and recognizing the emotional significance of the bond. Certain qualities about you may stand out more clearly. Certain experiences may take on new meaning. They may realize that the impact you have had on their life extends far beyond what they originally understood. This recognition strengthens emotional awareness and contributes to a greater sense of certainty. Emotional awakening often brings increased sensitivity as well. The individual becomes more aware of their inner responses, intuitive impressions, and emotional needs. Rather than dismissing these experiences, they begin valuing them as important sources of self-knowledge. This shift creates a stronger connection between conscious awareness and deeper emotional reality. The and mind begin working together instead of opposing one another. As clarity grows, confusion gradually loses its influence. Questions that once felt impossible to answer become easier to understand. Mixed signals within the psyche begin aligning. The person develops a more accurate understanding of what they truly feel and why those feelings matter. Hidden emotions that once operated in the shadows move into the light of awareness, bringing with them a deeper sense of emotional truth, self-standing, and recognition of the connection's profound significance. The pull of destiny is one of the most mysterious experiences within human psychology. It is the feeling that certain events, encounters, and relationships carry a significance that extends beyond ordinary circumstances. While the conscious mind often seeks clear explanations for everything, there are moments when life seems to move according to deeper patterns that cannot be fully understood through logic alone. In a soulmate connection, this sense of destiny often emerges as a persistent feeling that the bond exists for an important reason, even when the path forward remains uncertain. Your soulmate may have experienced periods where they attempted to move away from the connection, focus on other priorities, or convince themselves that their feelings would eventually disappear. Yet, despite these efforts, something continued drawing their attention back toward you. This repeated return is significant because it suggests that the connection has touched deeper layers of the psyche. Certain relationships pass through our lives and leave little lasting impact, while others continue influencing our thoughts, emotions, and personal growth long after they begin. The feeling of destiny does not necessarily involve dramatic signs or supernatural experiences. More often, it reveals itself through subtle psychological patterns. Your soulmate may notice that thoughts of you arise during meaningful moments of reflection, Certain experiences may remind them of you without any obvious reason.